Guys, before the year ends, what do you think we should leave in 2024? What are some things you think we should leave in 2024? I'm gonna say I've got a few of mine here written down. And by a few, this isn't even all to do with music either. This is just like, bro, I need to get this out of my system, like genuinely. Things we need to leave in 2024, number one, forced hate. I've talked about this before. Concept is simple as, all right? I've got a few examples here, and I've said this before. I'm not gonna speak too much about this, obviously. Netspend. He's very high on what I like to call the spectrum of general likability, or the SGL for short. Even for overground standards, his music is fairly tame. You know how a lot of underground artists usually have a very harsh sound, which would be a pretty niche interest for a lot of people, you know, considering it's so harsh. And I found that Netspend isn't actually all that harsh. Like, he has a pretty underground sound, but from a general perspective, he's pretty high on the SGL. There's like, you have people down here, which is like, if you want to say you genuinely hate people here, that's actually fair enough. I'm not even gonna like, these guys are actually pretty low down on the SGL, right? You might hate these guys just because they're like super experimental and weird. You come up to here, you're overdoing it kind of when you say you hate them. You might dislike them, but you don't hate these people, right? You go up to like the higher end of the SGL, and this is kind of the point where it starts to sort of fade into a more mainstream sound. So it's kind of like you don't hate them. You're like lying when you say you hate them. You just wouldn't listen to them actively. You know, it's like Netspend and Osama-san and people who already sort of have a, I guess, more overground sound. That's what I would call it, right? What else should we leave in 2024? Gatekeeping. I feel like whatever argument gatekeepers have for gatekeeping music could eventually be debunked very easily. And I'm going to take two examples. I'm going to take underground rap and I'm going to take black metal, because those are the two genres of music that I personally know of that have the most gatekeepers, right? And they say, oh, gatekeeping is necessary because if we don't gatekeep, then loads of people are going to come in and water down the music and the scene. Yeah, that happens with literally every music genre, not just because of people, but because of over time. Their idea of things watering down and becoming more mainstream is just changing. They're not afraid of things being watered down, they're afraid of change, okay? And if anything, those changes aren't a bad thing. You know, for example, if black people had gatekept hip-hop, it wouldn't be where it is today. Let's be so honest. Many white people getting involved with a predominantly poor black culture. Yeah, you could say that's like watering it down to an extent, but with these other races involving themselves in hip-hop, it's brought so much diversity to the genre. I think gatekeepers have a mindset that if they don't keep a band unpopular, then there's never going to be any unpopular bands whatsoever, and that's just not true. I think we all know that's not true. Whenever there are popular bands or artists, there is always going to be underground artists. That's just how the law works. Okay, that's like the nature of it, okay? Only like 1% of the people who actually try to do something with music get into like the big ranks. So imagine all of the popular artists you know, there's like 1,000 times more underground artists, okay? So I assure you it does not matter if a few bands go overground, because there's gonna be 5,000 more underground bands to replace them. It's not that big a deal, I promise you. It's the same thing with like preserving music. What do you mean you're gatekeeping music to preserve it? Are you an idiot? In my opinion, right, constant refreshment to a music genre is needed for it to stop it becoming stale. For example, black metal. They're the most gatekeepy, pretentious people I've ever known, and their music genre is stale as hell because everything just starts sounding the same eventually. I like a few black metal songs, right? I would consider myself a heavy metal fan. I like all kinds of genres of heavy metal, but I just cannot bring myself to listen to black metal over and over and over again like I can with other genres. It just seems like the same sort of formula has just been repeated for like 40 years at this point, and I think we need to stop gatekeeping black metal to make it more diverse, honestly, if you had to ask me. For example, Curtain Wall. I love Curtain Wall. He's doing something different. Yeah, it sounds kind of goofy, kind of silly, but he's doing something different and he's making it fun, and I like that. It's fun to listen to. This stuff it just ends up sounding the same to me, okay? Then this person, oh, this sounds a bit different. I like this because this stands out from the rest of them. This is a lot better. Wow, this is refreshing. This is cool to hear, you know? It feels like you can just get down and have a silly time with this without all these other depressed, repetitive weirdos going like, oh no, you can't enjoy that. Oh my god, shut up, bro. No, you're not. You're actually not allowed to enjoy that. This actually isn't real black metal because it isn't the same repetitive, boring thing repeated. Like, whenever I hear someone talk about how we should preserve a music genre by keeping everything the same, all I can ever think of is that that's the same logic that people use to justify inbreeding. I don't want to listen to inbred music. Are you kidding me? Give me some diversity or something. Jeez. Also, do you think underground artists want you to gatekeep their stuff? Are you serious right now? Imagine you worked so hard on making a piece of music that you love and you hope other people will love, and your fuck-ass fans are telling you that you should keep it to yourself. What the hell? So this is my favorite music artist. I like him a lot, and he's really chill. Follow me on SoundCloud. My name. Don't tell them your name. No, don't do that. He's mine, and only I can listen to him. You guys don't deserve. Then I go. If you guys are aware of the producer We Gon' Be Okay, who produces for Netspend and a bunch of other people, he recently called Osama-san the new punk, which is like so atrociously wrong. Oh my god, he was so confidently wrong, it gave me secondhand embarrassment, genuinely. I feel like people who aren't in the punk scene, like We Gon' Be Okay, sort of see punk now as an aesthetic or a style of clothing. And if people didn't gatekeep punk so much, I feel like he would have known that it's more of a mindset or an attitude or a political belief. Going against consumerism and capitalism, which obviously we know Osama-san is very consumerist. There's nothing punk about wearing all designer clothes and bragging about money in your songs. I think like Playboy Cardi just sort of randomly started calling himself punk at some point, and he just, people would have rolled with it and thought, well, like, this is awesome. It's like, no, he's not punk. He's the opposite of punk. And if punk wasn't gatekept, people might have known that dressing punk isn't actually a very important part of being punk. For example, and I love this example, is Mike from SEL Punk. The dude is the most punk character throughout the whole film, and I feel like his character sort of stands as well to contradict what a lot of punks believed back in the 80s, you know? For example, Steve-O was super opposed to him going to college because college represented to him this like grand capitalistic scheme of like entrapping young folks into this big rat race of earning money. And the reason Mike was going was to save the trees, which was a good reason.
What's your major gonna be, dude? Botany.
You're gonna study plants?
I want to save the rainforests, you know? Somebody's got to fight for them. Just...
You believe this guy? He's going off to save the plants. I mean, this guy, he was one of the most hardcore sons of bitches I ever met. He's going off to save the plants.
So in a way, Mike's character also represents the contradictions within the punk scene. And he didn't dress punk at all. He just had a super punk attitude, and that's what was so cool about him. I'm not even really mad at the fact that Osama-san doesn't make punk music whatsoever. Because honestly, if punk is a mindset, then I don't think the music matters really either. I'm just more pissed off that We Gon' Be Okay, someone who is blatantly not in the punk scene, is absolutely insisting that Osama-san is the new punk, despite Osama-san being the exact opposite of that. So maybe if we hadn't gatekept punk so much, like that wouldn't be happening, you know? People would actually understand the meaning of punk. What's the next thing we need to get rid of in 2024? And this is gonna sound harsh, but I feel like Henry Carver and Diddy Bop and all those kind of guys, they're just kind of like, they're kind of a vibe, you know, a chill fit. But at the end of the day, these are just TikToks of them just like standing there and just doing nothing. How are they... Why are they famous? He's low-key kind of useless, I'm not gonna lie. What does he do? Why is he relevant? Why does he have such a huge following? I don't know. You know, other social media stars are somewhat relevant, you know? Maybe they go on like talk shows and they're active doing something, or they're committed to some sort of character or bit. But like, not these guys just stand here and just sort of do nothing. I guess Diddy Bop does have a sort of character, actually. You're right there. But like Henry Carver and the other curly-haired dude and the other guys, like what do they do? They don't have a bit. They don't have a character. They don't have a, I don't know. They don't have a shtick. They just sort of stand there and they're super famous. I don't get it. What else do we need to leave in 24? Looks maxing. Oh my god. All this like Sigma male stuff, bro, it's for losers, I genuinely. And it's low-key gay as well, I'm not gonna lie. No hate to my LGBT folks, obviously. But like, it's just weird that like the super homophobic boys or people who claim to be like super Christian and super homophobic are the gayest. I don't understand that.
Guys, I was like looking for memes and stuff for the video, and I found a comprehensive guide to looks maxing, right? And it like a majority of these things is just like hygiene. Keep your hair clean. No, what else have you been doing this whole time? No wonder you need a looks max, bro. What? This is just basic hygiene.
And the thing is, they don't even go by female standards. That's the weird thing. They go by other male standards. So that's just gay. I feel like when a person subscribes to like looks maxing and like all this toxic gym stuff, it sort of reveals a lot about how they're very easily manipulated by social media and people who they see as like above them, people in authority and social media and stuff. Like they'll just see anything and roll with it. Like, what? Are you really that easily manipulated? Toxic gym culture, like I said before, that's so corny, bro. You'll see people talking about like, whenever I'm failing at my reps, I just think of my girl being fucked and it helps me finish my rep out of like what, anger or something. Like, you have a cuck fantasy, bro. Next one. What else do we need to leave in 2024? Public pranks. So what I've observed from this sort of like public pranks era of the internet right now is that there'll be one dude who like gets loads of likes for doing something like wacky or funny or having some kind of shtick, being a disturbance and being really loud, but having some kind of twist to it. Like he's dressed as Plankton or he's dressed as a banana and he goes in and he wrestles a guy dressed as a monkey in a Sonic or something in the United States. And you see it and you think, okay, it's kind of funny. It's not like super funny, but it's alright, you know? But then once impressionable little kids see this, oh my god. god, it's like every other video on Instagram Reels is just some fuck-ass kid going into a public restroom and just doing nothing but screaming until some poor underpaid worker has to come in and drag them out. Like,
It's coming out! It's coming out!
that's not a public prank. Like, you're just being an asshole. You're not funny in the least. I'm so glad that, like, Instagram Reels comments are mean, because they just need to humble these stupid children. I hate them. I feel like Jackass and Borat were kind of like the peak of these, like, public pranks, you know? Were they disturbing the public? Yes, they were, but it was funny. Jackass or Borat pranks had some sort of comedic timing to it, because there was a setting and a time and a place for them to do it, which lined up for it to be a funny joke. It wasn't just screaming. I wish all the worst to the children who do public pranks and screaming. I hate them. But yeah, no, editor, do your thing. Make sure this is like a super smooth, cool outro.